Welcome, and thank you for joining us. My name is Michael Kerman with Leading Edge Seminars. Sue Johnson will be with us momentarily, but I want to say a few things first. First, about this platform. I hope you're on a Chrome browser, and if you are, you should have full audio and video experience for this whole session. Now, if you're on a tablet or a phone, you might only hear us, more on the platforms later. But I want to say a couple of things about why we're doing this. We all know these are very difficult times and days, and it's my hope that being together in this way will provide information. It'll be enjoyable, it'll be supportive, and it will encourage solidarity and connection. Social distancing doesn't mean we can't be a different kind of close. In the counseling and therapy fields, we've taken on the job of helping people change difficult behavior, their difficult emotions, thinking, and no fooling. We know how difficult this can be at the best of times. It's a challenge because we know how hard it can be for us. And now we have counselors and therapists never had more of an opportunity to empathize with their fellow shut-in, lockdown clients, talking about being in the same boat together. Now, the speakers we presented for over the last 25 years, usually in Toronto, they've been on the leading edge and they provided new ideas and insights and teaching based on their understanding of human nature and psychology, neuroscience, and usually based on many years of gaining insights from their own clinical practice and their lives. They've shared their learning in the service of helping other helping professionals. Now, our live workshops, which now seem a long, long time ago, they've offered their knowledge and their insights and practical ideas, but always evident has been their skills at connecting and engaging a room full of colleagues who are eager to learn. This has been the magic for me and our staff, what goes on in that room. And yesterday I received a reply from a wonderful presenter, Linda Graham, who's written a lot about resilience. And she agreed to join us next week for virtual lunch. We haven't posted it yet. And she wrote, people in the leading edge community are simply the most dedicated, the most responsive to work with anywhere. Well, that was really nice to hear from Linda. And I'm hoping the spirit of these virtual lunches will encourage that. So, people come to us for help for depression, anxiety, stress, and other feelings of isolation, whether they're live alone or with a partner or a family or friends. And now this. These days, the news about the growing crisis, the health and economic realities, how long it's going to last, all the precautions, what we need to do right now to slow it down, that's what we're paying attention to. Public health and government officials are having to be increasingly innovative. And there's going to be more and more conversation, though, in the coming days and weeks about mental health, how people are coping. When are we going to start to hear stories about self-harming, about suicide, domestic violence, the stress and anxiety people are feeling? So the role of mental health professionals will become more vital and more important than ever before. Now, it's my hope and my invitation to you, every one of you who are watching this, is let's make this as interactive as possible. That we think of this as a community coming together at a very difficult time, and we'll share ideas and our own wisdom, what we're learning about, the mistakes we're making, and this will help sustain us and our clients in the coming weeks and hopefully not months or much longer. We need to do this together to figure out ways not only to increase our connection, but to share creative ways of helping clients. That will be part of our discussion for sure. We entered a business and a calling that had to do with interacting. Well, we're going to have to do it more. And I have no doubt that you're going to be able to contribute. Your questions, your issues, your thoughts, suggestions, how we can do this or what we can do different will be very important. And please don't hesitate to share. Also, please be patient. This is all new for me and for us. So we're exploring technologies, and your patience and kindness and compassion, as well as your suggestions, are helping. And also, we need a little lightness and fun. I was thinking of starting off putting on a song, Stick Together by Brian Ferry. well, not literally stick together, but I thought we need a little pleasure and a little fun, so that might be part of these virtual lunches. I'd like this to be like friends getting together to talk, to have a chat, and listen to some very smart and helpful people. I'd like to thank my staff, Emily, Angela, and Kim, who've worked extremely hard and a lot of overtime to make this happen. I also want to thank our partners who've helped spread the word, J&K Seminars in Pennsylvania and the Ontario Association of Mental Health Professionals. If you have an organization or like to help spread the word through, well, however you spread words, please let us know. A couple of other things before we start about these virtual lunch togethers. Tomorrow we're going to have Lawrence Murphy. He started an online therapy practice in the 1990s, if you can believe that. And all these years he's been teaching people how to work online. And that was a time when people thought it was an addition to their therapy, not their only therapy. So he's going to talk to us at a virtual lunch tomorrow at noon. Registrations are filling up and we do have a limit, but he will be here tomorrow at noon. And on Thursday, he'll teach an online seminar. It'll be 3 hours, will be low cost. That's available on our website. Thursday, we're very lucky to have Janina Fisher. Friday, Margaret Warenberg. So again, a reminder, if you tuned a little bit late, I hope you're using a Chrome browser. If you have questions, please use the question box in your upper right. I think I'm pointing in the right place. Click on question, send your question. Now, if you're on a laptop or you're on a desktop, you can ask that question, as long as you have camera and sound, directly to Sue, and you'll be on air. If you have if you just have an iPhone or a device, a tablet device, it'll have to be written only. Remember, though, that whenever you ask questions, this is going to be archived for the world to see. So please don't ask sensitive client questions or anything that should be confidential. So the questions can be screened because we don't know how many there are. And we'll pretty much save the last 15 minutes for questions. So they will be reviewed. And some of you will have a chance to get the answers from Sue. So now I'd like to say thank you, Sue, for your patience and welcome you onto the screen from beautiful Victoria. How are you doing, Sue? We even haven't had a chance to talk before. So I wanted to ask you, very personally, between you and me and around 700 other people. So, just how you doing these days? What's been going on in your life? Just share with us.
Well, ironically, before all this started, I'd just come back from India. I'd only been back 2 days when the government said you're supposed to stay at home. And it all reminds me of a moment in India. I went with my daughter when suddenly plunged into the complete chaos of India in Varanasi. I looked at her in the back of a taxi and I said, okay, I think we have two choices here. We could have a complete meltdown. We could, shall we have a joint panic attack here? Because I've never seen anything like this world we've dropped into. Or shall we just take a deep breath and ride the wave of chaos? And she laughed and she said, well, I don't think we have time for the panic attack. So shall we just ride the wave of chaos? And that's what we did for 20 days in India. Mm-hmm. I came home exhausted, completely jet lagged after a 37-hour journey. And I thought, I'm going to arrive in my wonderful calm in Canada, in Victoria, in my wonderful, calm, safe, predictable world. I'm going to, my dog will come up on the bed in the morning. I won't wake to chanting and screaming of horns and no. So after I had recovered from my jet lag, which, I just slept, I realized, here we are again, ride the wave of chaos. So apart from the regular things that are bizarre, it's kind of, I'm sure it's bizarre for everyone to have to say things like, no family, we're not going to get together for our Sunday supper. You know, I love you all, and we're not. No, my dear friends, we're not going to get together for lunch. You know, this seems so bizarre. Apart from all that, the professional world has gone berserk. Everyone, and by the way, this includes you, everyone is calling me up to say, can you do this online? Can you do that online? And by the way, we all have different servers and different thises and different thatties and different rules. And, you know, there's just some part of me that wants to sort of go into bed and put the covers over my head. But the other thing about it that is wonderful and amazing and heartwarming, and of course fits with all our ideals as EFT therapists, is that people have really done or are doing what you hope people will do in this kind of crisis. People in the EFT community are talking on the listserv, sending help, how to do therapy online, sending help with how to deal with ways to deal with all this, sending hopeful YouTubes. You know, one wonderful thing that I encourage people to look at is there's a couple of YouTubes looking at the people in Italy all standing out on their balconies singing. They're singing, right? And they're singing beautiful music to each other. And then there's another one of a choir singing a tribute to all the health workers. This is beautiful, right? So people are coming together, people are sharing. Even in my community, in the paper, people have started something called Beacon Buddies, where if somebody is elderly or, you know, it's particularly hard for them to live in shutdown, you know, sheltering in place. That's tricky because some of us have a harder time. Some of us, that's relatively easy to do on a practical level, and some of us it isn't. So Beacon Buddies has started here in Victoria, where people leave notes on the door and say, would you like me to go to the store for you? Would you like me to pick up something? I'll come, I'll pick it up, I'll leave it outside. Do you need medication? Don't go to the pharmacy. You know, you've got a health problem, you're more at risk, we'll go to the pharmacy for you, we'll pick it up, we'll bring this kind of thing. You know, it sort of, what does it do? It brings you hope that in the end, we have all our differences, and sometimes the world looks like a very dysfunctional place. But in the end, as human beings, you know, we do have this ability to rise above our differences or our personal concerns and reach for each other and turn to each other. And of course, all our work on attachment says that that's the biggest source of resilience of all. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's lots of ways to prime your resilience pump, you know, and we can talk about that. But the big one for me is always connection with other people and feeling that you exist in other people's minds. I mean, that's the essence of a safe society for me. That's the essence of civilization, actually, is that you have the sense you exist in other people's minds, and that we take care of each other. We recognize that we're vulnerable. We're all vulnerable, you know, we recognize that. And strength is in recognizing that and then turning towards each other and supporting each other in that vulnerability. I mean, that in a way is what EFT is all about. That's what our work's all about. That's what attachment's all about. So I'm running like mad. What are you doing?
Well, this has been pretty crazy, deciding to do this, and
yes,
you know, and then trying to get it off the ground and let everyone know. And so we've really been scrambling and hoping the technology would work. We heard about a big webcast, someone who'd done many, and most of it crashed last Friday because of the demand on the internet. And he sent a message out. 1,000 people signed up, 100 people got in. So I'm really hoping that's not the case here. I haven't heard any bad news yet. But we're really trying to think just like Beacon Buddies or our neighbor down the street. I live around downtown Toronto, who every night goes out with his bagpipe and his kilt, and he plays a song, and neighbors come with pots and pans and bang, and everyone looks at each other from 6 or 10 feet away, and he's doing that every night. So
I love that. I love that. I love that. I
yeah,
love that. I
yeah.
love that. That is so beautiful,
Yeah,
right?
so
It's
yeah, and I had another neighbor put a note under every door, like your Beacon Buddies. I'm here to help, anything I can do. We're starting a WhatsApp group to support each other. So, I think, crisis always bring out the best and the worst, There's usually
yes.
not much in between.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I was very disturbed the other morning to read the thing in the Globe and Mail about how suddenly everyone, the gun and ammunition sales have gone through the roof. I thought, oh no, please don't let's go there. Please don't let us take our fear and turn it into seeing other people as the enemy. My God, wouldn't that be a tragedy? Let's take our fear and turn it into, the desire to reach for other people and to be supported and support. So I found that very scary.
yeah,
The stuff about how guns had gone up. I think that's very scary indeed. And have you seen the things in the paper talking about trust? Some articles in the Globe and in the New York Times talking about the level of trust in our society. Maybe it speaks to that.
mm,
We all have to think, do I trust my neighbors really? do I feel safe enough to believe that people will look out for me? Or in this situation, do I find that actually I'm stuck in I look at other people as a threat, which is, that's insecurity, that's attachment insecurity. And that was scary. So hopefully we can stay on the positive side. We can stay on supporting each
yeah.
other.
Well,
I
I
think,
think, I think,
and as
we
Canadians,
can't get, dragged down.
that's right. I think as Canadians we can, you know, I think, but then I'm very idealistic about Canada. Um, you know,
Yeah, well,
I travel all over the world, and I am idealistic about Canada. Somebody was making a joke. We made some terribly bad jokes on the EFT listserv, some very sort of politically incorrect jokes. Really, why not? A laugh is a laugh. But we were talking about how all the different nationalities would deal with this virus. And there were funny ones from Monty Python about how the Australian level of total catastrophe is to cancel the Barbie, right? And actually, this has never happened, right? Right. And then we were talking about all the different ways that people would have of dealing with it. And of course, Monty Python is very rude. So some of them were very nasty comments. But we thought, what would we do in Canada? Well, in Canada, we'd probably apologize profusely to the virus for trying to kill it. That was one of my colleagues, one of my wonderful trainers in Vancouver, Veronica Kalos, said, yes, we'd all apologize to the virus. We're awfully sorry, but we're afraid that we're going to have to try to kill you. We're very sorry. So that's very Canadian. And I've only lived in Victoria for a year and a bit. And somebody asked me, how would I characterize Victoria? It's beautiful, there's beautiful mountains, it's the sea, and I said, no, Victoria's kind. The island is kind. People say to you, you're an islander now. And I said, in the East, sometimes I had the feeling, even in Canada, that if I fell in the street, people would be so busy that they would step over me in order to get on with their day, because they're all obsessed with performance and worries. And in Victoria, if somebody falls in the street, basically you're almost killed in the crash of people coming to help you. So it's a kind place.
Well, that's nice. Well, that's nice to hear. I want to, shift the focus.
Yeah.
I see some people asking questions already because to shift the focus to couples, because we have a lot of couples therapists. And, my own anecdote is I came back 2 weeks ago from 2 weeks with my wife. We were together 7/24. And usually when I come back, I'm just very happy to resume my life when she's busy and I'm busy. We see each other at dinner, we take a walk on Saturdays, we do other things. And, we enjoy our time together. And then we come back, we enjoy, getting back to life. Couples, and then you have couples with kids around the house. You have couples who are dating. You have couples, the whole area of couples has been such a focus of your life. First, what do you think the issues are, and how can therapists help them virtually these days?
Oh, okay.
Both those things, the issues and what do
Okay.
you do if you've never, what do you do online with couples?
Okay. So, of course, anytime anxiety goes up, anytime people feel threatened, what we know is the minute your threat sensors start to go off, it primes your attachment system. It primes the question, are you there for me? Can I count on you? Do I matter to you? Are you safe? It's going to prime that. And anytime it primes that, hopefully in a good relationship, even though you're not used to spending so much time together, in a good relationship, it primes you being able to turn and risk and reach and share and have what we call a hold me tight conversation. And when you do that, it kind of fills up your resilience reservoir. However, the flip side is also true. When we feel threatened and the question, are you there for me, comes up, if the answer is no or maybe, then what is primed is what we call separation distress, what we call conflict in our, what we say in EFT is conflict is the inflammation. The virus, ironic, is emotional disconnection. So if people can't turn towards each other in this crisis, then the gap between them is going to be very obvious. And I'm sure there are some couples are having a very hard time. And, and unfortunately, maybe people aren't comfortable with everything in all our practices is switched to online therapy. And we can talk about that in a minute, because we've learned a lot about EFT online in the last few years. And I'm glad we did, because now we need to be able to talk about that. But of course, it's going to exacerbate some people's sense of isolation and distress. And, I've actually been struggling with what to do about that. Some part of me says I should just take the Hold Me Tight education course we have based on the book. We have it online. Some part of me says I should just find a way somehow to make it free to all Canadians. I don't know how to do that. Hey, Michael, maybe you know how to do that.
We can look into it for you if you'd like.
We should do it because people are going to get distressed, and it's going to make everything worse, and it's going to turn them. It's also going to not help them cope on a practical level. When your fear creates fear experienced in isolation creates real tunnel vision, and you're not very good at making choices in that place. You don't have your emotional balance. So it's a difficult one. And I think some people are going to get more distressed, and I'm struggling with what to do about that, how to find a way to reach out to the Canadian public and somehow help, somehow reassure. But, the fact of the matter is security is a gift that keeps on giving. The more you can turn to other people, the more you can get your emotional balance, the more balanced you are, the more you can turn to others, the safer the world is, the more you're able to cope with stress. And the flip side, the more emotionally alone you feel, the more alienated you feel from people, more insecure you are about whether they're there for you, the bigger the threat appears, the more overwhelmed you become. So you're right. This is a mental health crisis as well as a physical health crisis. This is a mental health crisis. It's a difficult one. So yes, couples are going to have a hard time. I hope, and this is me being idealistic again, I guess, I hope that some couples with the threat in front of them will actually find a way to take risks they're not used to taking, find a way to step past the hurts that they've inflicted on each other and come together in this. I hope that's true. And we have switched in the practice I do here in Victoria, in my institute in Ottawa, online with all my therapists all over the world. There's 65 centers of EFT all over the world. We're talking to people. Everybody's switched online. The good thing that's coming out all over the place, and this is my personal experience in the last 18 months as well. The good thing is that we are finding that you can do EFT just fine online. And we are helping therapists learn some of the tricks of that, but you can do it. Your EFT is very systematic. It's very focused. It's very on target. It gives you a map to people's emotions so you can tune in. You can tune in on a screen. It's true. It's a more subtle. I'm not in the room with somebody, but I can see the expression on their face. And
I'm curious if I can interrupt you. What were some of the issues when you began doing that, and how you trained it, and what did you find when you first started that? Oh, this really works well. Be careful of that.
Well, first of all, therapists were intimidated. I think that was the main thing. People said, well, let me talk about me. Okay, I'll give you where this started for me. Wasn't in this crisis. About as I was moving, or was it just before I moved, I got a call from someone who said, Sue, there's this very distressed couple. They're up in the Arctic. They have no resources up there. This man has full-blown PTSD, and nobody will take them. Will you take them and do online therapy? And I said, I like, are you kidding? Like this is, I don't know, I'm not used to this. I haven't done this before. I'm not sure. This isn't an ideal couple. This man has full-blown PTSD. I don't have any EFT therapists in the community to refer them to if things go wrong. Anyway, I did it. Okay, and I did it. And for sure, if the couple weren't ideal for online therapy, for one thing, the Inuit culture, they're not really used to talking a whole bunch about their feelings. If you're going to go out on the ice for 5 days and hunt, there's nobody out there to do catharsis with, right? So, that was okay. This is a different level of what we would call a withdrawer. This is PTSD. This is a long-term relationship with lots of injuries. So it all stacked up as this is going to be hard. And it wasn't. And that blew my mind. It wasn't. I just relied on my safe haven secure base, which is the EFT model. I kept going with the model. I kept doing what we call the EFT tango, if you know EFT, which is 5 systematic moves that we use in intervention. And what I was amazed by, I was amazed that it worked just fine, but I learned to do certain things. Give an example. I touch people. I reach out and touch people. That's just my personality. I know some people aren't comfortable with that, but I do that. Okay, I'm English working class. For me not to touch people. Oh, and that's, by the way, that's something I have to learn right now. For me not to touch people, is difficult, right? I have to interrupt myself. So what I started doing with this man is I would say, and I wish I was in the room with you right now. On the one hand, I'm a long way away. but I feel what you're saying. I can feel it. I'm feeling it with you. And if I was there right now in the room, I'd reach out and touch your arm, and you'd feel the warmth of my hand on your arm, and I'd leave it there, and I'd just leave my hand there. And what I'd be saying to you with that is that I'm with you, and I'm feeling for you, and this is so painful, and I care about your pain. And I'd be able to tell you all that with my hand on your arm. And he looks at me. I mean, we've done it. We've just done it in a different way, right? So, you know, I was intimidated by the technical stuff too, but it seemed to work fine. And when it didn't, you know, they'd say, Sue, we can't hear you. And then everyone would panic for 2 seconds. And then somebody'd find a way, oh, we clicked the wrong button, or, oh, let's start again. You know, we sort of worked the technical stuff together because I wasn't secure in it either, but it worked very well. And my group are also struggling with how to teach online, because of course all our webinars and seminars are going online. That, if you think doing therapy online is hard, I want to tell you, there's another whole set of issues around how to teach effectively. When I teach, I need people's faces, I need their feedback, and I find it very difficult to teach staring at a little tiny spot on my computer. You know, I find that very difficult. But basic message is that even with or perhaps because of a present, emotionally focused therapy, yes, you can do it online. It's a question of us getting used to it. It's a question of therapist confidence.
Mm-hmm. So you're suggesting that people reach out to their in-person clients and say, let's just start.
Yep.
And see how it goes.
Yep. I'm
and you know,
starting on Tuesday.
when you were talking to that man, I could feel your presence from so far away. You know, it's very powerful to look into someone's eyes, even if it's on a screen.
And we've learned, you know, we've learned over the years, how do you take people into corrective emotional experiences? It's the same online. We talk about, you repeat yourself. You go, we call it RISC, RISSSC, or is it I can't remember now, but it's an acronym. And we talk about, you drop your voice, you go slow, you use simple language, you repeat yourself, you ask evocative questions. Are you with me right now? What happens to you as I say this? You know, you use the client's words. We write down what we call client emotional handles, and we bring them up again and again. So over the years in EFT, we found ways to engage people, attune to them, stay with them. You know, we found ways to forge that connection. And in some ways, it's very, well, for me, it was almost surprising, but in some ways, it's very heartening. It's a huge relief to know that we can do this on a screen. We really can, if we use what we've learned in 30 years of EFT with how to connect with people and stay connected. You know, the more specific you get, the better. You know, you talk, you'll see an EFT therapist like,
whoops. Sue, you're blocking. I can't hear. Okay. No, I couldn't hear you.
Oh.
Somehow it clicked out. Now you're there. Great.
So,
carry on.
You know, so I think if you have a map to people's inner life, it really helps, because then you can tune in more easily. If you have a clear way of intervening, it really helps, because then, you know, you go into the zone and you go into following your map, and you know what you're doing. And then the technical stuff, the fact that you're in fact a long way away from each other seems to fall away. You know, I think when people do good therapy, you create a kind of bubble around you and the client, and you're with the client knows you're with them, And I think that that can happen online too. That's my experience. But certainly I use the things from EFT. I use dropping my voice, going slow, slowing down, repeating things, what we do, call assembling emotion, going into people's emotions, making them specific. Like the little lady that says to me, I've been depressed all my life. I'm depressed now. My husband says I shouldn't be depressed. This is individual therapy, right? Because I'm doing EFIT right now. It's individual EFT, and we're doing a big study on it, which, by the way, this crisis has completely messed up. But anyway, never mind. But, this little lady says to me, I've been depressed forever. I'm depressed. My husband says I have no reason to be depressed. I'm wrong to be depressed. My family tells me that. And so we talk for a while. And what we go into is, as I stay with her and her emotion, talk about her triggers, her body responses, what she says to herself, what all the people in her life say to her, is what we basically come up with is I say, could you help me as I look into your face and as I hear you say this, this, and this, could you help me? I look into your face, and what I get from you right now as I look into your face is I get amazing sadness. It's like you want somebody to hear you. You want someone to listen to you, and you're all alone here, and you're trying to tell people, I'm sad about my life. And when you try to do that, no one's listening to you. And she bursts into tears. And we talk about the fact that her depression is really about feeling unheard and alone and amazingly sad. And she has no one to talk to about that sadness, about the fact that she's reached a point in her life where she looks back and she has regrets.
Mhm.
And I believe I could have done that online. I did it in my session. I could have done it online. If you know how to go in, you know how to hold people, you know how to make people feel safe, you have a map to a tune, for sure you can do therapy online.
Well, I have a question too, because someone just wrote about telephone counseling. It seems to me that would be very difficult,
I think
not
it's
looking at
harder because
someone's
you
eyes.
can't see people's faces.
Yeah,
And I get so much from people's faces. When
yeah,
I tune into your face, I get so much information from your nonverbals. So
yeah.
on the telephone, I've got to rely on your voice. So I think it's harder work. But in this crisis we're in right now, hey, it's better. Anything's better than vulnerability faced alone. I'm an
Yeah,
attachment person. Okay.
of course. So I have a practical question about these days platforms. I mean, people are using Zoom for a long time. Things are starting to crash. Does it make a difference where
Well,
people use
Michael,
EFT? People
you're
have
asking me a very
loved
personal.
one.
You're asking me a very personal question here, because when you guys called me up 2 days ago and said, would you do this? My first response was yes. And my second response, when you told me you were using something called Livestream, was no. But because personally, I'm getting overwhelmed by, if one more person calls me up and says, we want you to go online, we want you to do this. Oh, and by the way, it's on some platform called Ibbly Wobbly. And I'm and if people know me, they know I can do lots of things, but I am totally technologically incompetent. Okay, so the platforms get to be tricky, and there's going to be a learning curve. Guess what I'm doing this week? I'm trying to write blogs, and I'm trying to do social media and support people and figure out how to do that and support all my EFT communities all around the world and all the people on the listserv. But the other thing I'm doing is I'm trying to get my poor colleagues to teach me all about
Oh, no.
how to do
Deep learning curve.
Zooms, and now you want me to do live stream, Michael Kerman. Well, you know,
No.
you want me to do like it's anyway. I find it difficult. I can talk to people. I can do therapy and I can teach because I'm passionate about what I teach. But I must say, the technology is intimidating, and I think it's hard for us as therapists. We're used to a certain therapy is a multi-level, it's a absorbing task just in and of itself. Adding technology, and then adding technology to connect with your peers, adding technology to maybe teach your peers. Oi. So I'm still in Ride the Wave of Chaos. I want you to know I'm still back in that damn taxi driving into Varanasi, except where's the chanting? I can't hear any chanting. That's the only thing that's sort of missing. Oh, and there aren't any cows. There's no cows out all over the street. That's the thing that I couldn't believe in India. There's a cow every two steps, right?
I think we have a lot of questions, and some people would like to talk to you online. So Emily, who's on our boards, can connect someone for a video question, and we'll take questions for about 10 or 15 minutes and a few final words, and we'll probably wrap up. But let's see who. Emily, can you get someone online, please?
Hi there.
Hi. Can you
Hi,
hear me?
Mackenzie.
Hi. I'm an MSW student right now. So I am wondering how folks in like a non-therapist role can increase security in a very insecure, uncertain time.
That's a beautiful, beautiful question. I think the bottom line is that we send signals to other people.
Mm-hmm.
We do it all the time, even when we're not aware of it. We do it non-verbally. And I think we can send those signals to other people. I'll give you an example. I took my dog to the dog park yesterday morning, and I don't know what I expected. Well, I do. I expected everyone to be sort of uptight and kind of staying a long way away from each other. Well, it's Victoria. So that wasn't what happened. People started walking towards me, talking, and then saying, oh, I've got to stay. I'm sorry, I've got to stay. I think I was only 4 feet, which is very Canadian. We apologize immediately for everything, right? But what I got from people on that walk was, no, it wasn't like that. People were actually sending each other messages, non-verbals. It's like people were smiling at each other more. They were turning towards each other more. They were saying things like, I chatted to this lady about her beautiful dog. I love dogs, okay? I chatted to this lady about her beautiful dog, and she turned to me and smiled at me at the end and said, stay safe. And that's, I thought, that gives me a message about my world. If you have that kind of vibe going on around you and you give those messages of care to people, you literally make the world an emotionally safer place. That's what you literally do. So I think we can do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can do the things that Michael and I were talking about, which is I'm going to go over the road. I realized that I had not done this. I'm going to go over the road after this call and leave a message on my neighbor's door saying, I'm not sure if I think your family are a long way away. It's occurred to me your family are a long way away. So isolation is more literal for you. We have a car. Would you like us to, would you like to sit in the garden? We'll talk over the fence. Would you like us to get things for you? I think we can do that. We can reach for people. We can show care. We can move into, empathy, right? I think we can do that.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Emily, another question, please. Online, is there someone?
There's some interesting ones coming up I can see on
Yeah,
text.
yeah. Okay, how do we help those who are already so isolated and anxious? I work at a children's treatment center for children for children who are ill, medically fragile. Their parents, oops, I'm losing it, are,
I would offer
whoops.
them,
Yeah.
my response to that is,
Yeah.
can you offer them online consultations? Maybe you can offer them, I don't know how many people you're talking about. It may be overwhelming, but maybe you could offer them online consultations where you say, I'd be delighted to talk to you tomorrow morning, you know, online or even on the phone, you know, about your concerns. Is there something I can help you with? Just expressing that concern where they know that you're there and that you're concerned, I think is helpful.
We're getting some comments which I think are very interesting because they speak to what you're saying about the therapist being confident. One fellow wrote and said how well telephone counseling works for him.
Yeah,
So
because
I
he's
think,
used to it. I
yeah, I
saw
think
his
one of your
message.
messages is if you're scared and you're tentative and if you say to your clients, well, we've never done it and I don't know how it's going to
Oh,
work
no,
and this
don't do
is all
that.
so hard. No. So what would you say, what would the Sue Johnson approach on the first phone call to a client that you've seen for a while and they had a scheduled appointment this week? What would you say to them now? I would like to hear the script, the Sue Johnson script.
Oh, what did I say to my client?
Yeah.
I said, you know, we can connect on Tuesday. I'm just learning about all the technology of doing this online, but I'm learning about it and it'll be fine. And we can connect and we'll be talking in the same way about the same things as we have done in the office. And in the office, you have done so brilliantly in therapy. You have been so open with me and so brave. And you know, and if the technology gets away from us a little bit in the session, that's okay. We'll stop and we'll figure it out because I'm not completely clear how to do it, but I think we can do this. And so, no, I don't say I'm completely overwhelmed by because I'm not at this point. I'm actually learning, but you know, it's yeah. What I'm saying is, here I am. It's me. Here I am. We have the same connection. I'm accessible, responsive, and engaged with you, which are the things that create secure bonds. Here we are. I'm going to create this envelope of safety, you know. And of course, some clients don't want. I've had a couple of clients say, we'll wait a few weeks and see what happens. I'd rather see you in person. And other clients have said, yes, 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 I want. I want to talk to you, you know. So, but I think being genuine as well, you know, we're Rogerians, so we believe in transparency. So I don't have any problem saying to people, I'm a little unsure right here. You know, I'm a little unsure. I think I did actually with this couple up north. I was honest. I said, I have never used online therapy before, so I'm a little unsure how it's going to work, but I'm willing to try it with you. And if you don't feel connected with me and you don't feel safe, I want you to tell me. And if I'm having particular problems, you know, I want you to tell me. And, you know, I remember saying things to him like, could you help me? I'm tuning into your face right now, but I could be wrong because I'm not there in the room with you. So could you help me? My sense is that what I see in your face right now, but I could be wrong. And then he would help me. You know, we create collaboration in therapy. So that being said, you create collaboration, but you're in the shaper of security role. You're in a surrogate attachment figure, so you have to create structure and safety.
Mm-hmm. I'll ask Emily again, any video questions coming through, Emily? Let's see if someone comes on the screen.
There's one thing that says, what will happen in therapy once things return to normal?
Great.
I don't think things are going to return to normal. I think there's going to be a new normal. And I think I'm going to be sitting here in my chair in my office. I think I better get a more comfortable chair. I think people are going to learn how to use online, and it's just going to become part of the therapy world. That's what I think. And I think that's going to happen with teaching as well. And maybe that's good. Maybe it's, you know, it's availability, accessibility is one of the first things in secure attachment. If that makes therapy and counseling more available to people, hey, that's good. That's good. What's wrong with that? That's good. Like, it's like everything else. We just have to learn to do it so that we're on target. But we have to do that anyway in our profession, you know.
Okay, so do you want to look at those questions and see if there are any more? And if there's someone coming online, Emily, you can just put them on.
What can you do with someone who's feeling less important with all the chaos? Like their mental health concerns just became less important. Well, my hunch would be that this is not the first time that person's struggled with this. But it's not the first time they've asked myself, does anyone care about me? Am I important at all? You know, so it's probably not the first time they felt that. But you know, that's an interesting one, because I think that's a question we all have. That's an existential question. Do I matter? Do I matter to anyone? Am I important? And you know, one of the things I say is, well, you're important to me right now, right here, right now. You're important to me. I want to know. I want to know what's happening with you, and I want you to help me understand it, because right now it feels important. I can feel with you. And you know, we all worry sometimes that we're, in the big scheme of things, we don't matter. That's such a human existential fear. I don't matter. But you know, I'm an EFT therapist, so I go into people's attachment reality, and I find someone. I did this a few weeks ago with my client. It was very fascinating. She's severely traumatized. She would basically tell me I wasn't important to anybody in my whole life. I'd never mattered to anybody. So before we go into this trauma, and I would definitely do this if I was working online, by the way, I say to her, can you remember a time, a moment when somebody looked at you and you felt special and important? And so interesting, she closes her eyes and she says, yes, my coach. She came from a terrible traumatizing family. My coach, I went to the gym and I was good on the balance beam. And we go into the experience. I go with her. And, you know, I said, tell me what it felt like. And she said, my feet are on the beam. I can feel it. I can feel the beam. The energy's coming up from the beam. I breathe. I know I can do it. I bounce on the beam. I go 1, 2, 3. I'm in the air. I can turn. I can fly. I hit the beam again. I knew it would be under my feet. And I look up and there's his face. I say, yes. And it's an experience. She's not talking about something, she's in it. Right? What changes people is new emotion experience. And I say, and what do you see on his face? And she says, he's pleased with me. He thinks I'm special. He thinks I'm good at this. He wants to teach me. He's safe. And she bursts into tears. So we'll go back to that as her safe haven, secure base. So I would talk to somebody about their conclusion that they don't matter. I'd listen to that. There's good reasons for that conclusion. And I would try and find a moment when they did feel seen, they did feel precious, they did feel they mattered. And I'd shape that and hold it and give it to them as a source of resilience in their life. There's lots of fantastic questions here, actually, Michael. We could go on all day.
take one or two more. You know, we can run over a little over an hour. This isn't like a TV network. You know, there's no commercials. So we can go a few more minutes, but why don't you look at those questions? I have a brand new laptop. I'm having trouble working it. So you can look at the questions and
Relief.
answer
That
them.
makes me feel so much better.
I don't know how to,
I'm glad that you're having trouble.
I
I'm
can't
not
figure
being
it out yet.
empathic.
So you go ahead and look at those questions. And if Emily has someone online, she'll just put them on the screen. But just go look at a question for now.
What about the good fallout of this pandemic? Yes. Like realizing a materialistic way of life is not the end and greater appreciation for relationships. Oh, Amy, yes. I mean, I hope. Wouldn't that be wonderful? I mean, every crisis is an opportunity. Wouldn't that be lovely? That, in fact, just as I was eating my breakfast, I read that Russia has just sent a whole plane loads of medical supplies to Italy. Right? I thought, right, you know, great. You know, isn't that great? Like, there's hope in that. Yes, we could learn from this in brilliant ways. I've even seen some articles where they're talking about what happened in, how do you say the place where all this started, Wuhan, I think it's called. People talking about the fact that that city was industrialized very fast. They simply paved over all the beautiful lakes and all the streams, right? And there's huge health issues about water in that city, and people talking about how these pandemics come from animals that have been pushed out of their natural environments. And so this is all about, we're going too fast. We're not taking care of our planet. We're not taking care of each other. For sure, this is a place where we could learn to turn towards each other, to be better stewards of our planet, to be more together. I hope, wouldn't that be wonderful? Wouldn't that be wonderful? And there's two parts of me. One part of me is idealistic and romantic and says, yes, you're right, we'll do this. And another part of me says, because I love history, if I hadn't been a psychologist, I'd have been a historian. Another part of me says, you know, we're a funny species. We learn lessons and then we completely ignore them and we go back to the way we were. So I don't know, but hopefully we learn what we have learned, which I think we should push, is that we're all connected whether we like it or not. And the fact of the matter is that someone can get sick in China and it is important to you. It does impact you. It can impact you. You should care about that. You should care about whether that city in China has clean water. You should care. And I think that's an incredible lesson, that the way the world is now, we say, oh, that's a long way away. That's not going to impact me. You know, whether that stream's clean or not. It's on you. No, there's no such thing as a long way away anymore. We're all going to either come together or not. And if we don't come together, we're busy creating an inhuman world full of loneliness and disconnection where we can't cooperate. And then we won't cooperate to save the planet. I mean, I'm getting rather huge here, excuse me. I'm getting rather philosophical. But yes, it's a good hope. I hope we learn from this crisis. And as therapists, we're learning. You know, we're learning to reach people online. There's light coming in from my window here. But yes, let's hope we learn.
Well, maybe one more, Sue. You want to take one more question and have a look at the ones on your screen?
How can we create more accountable measures around the goals to be achieved? Rubina, oh, well, I invite you. I'm getting stripes across my face here. I invite you to look at our research. Hey, I've got a mustache. I invite you to look at our research. We have 20 outcome studies with all kinds of measures, observation measures where we code, we take people doing therapy and we code them. We have outcome measures, process of change measures. I invite you to go and look at our research. You can measure attachment and changes in people's attachment security with a measure called ECR, which my colleague, wonderful colleague Chris Fraley made, and it's online, it's free. There's all kinds of measures. The bottom line is, in this day and age, there's no reason why any therapist or any therapeutic model can't do research and show it and test its effectiveness. There's no reason. But especially in the couples field, people just don't do it. They're intimidated. There's no reason. The public have the right to a therapy where they say, have there been studies on this? And you say yes. And the research says this, and the research says that, and the research says we don't know this yet, and we do know this. You know, in EFT, it changes me as a therapist when I know that we've got all these studies showing that what we do works. I expect to be effective in therapy. And right now with our EFIT, with our individual therapy, I expect to be effective. And that's powerful in itself. You know, I know all the things we've learned from those studies. We learn so much from clinical studies. So there's lots of research out there. I invite you to go look at the EFT research. And we need to educate the public and therapists as well that when you haven't tested your interventions, I'm sorry, in this day and age, that's not okay anymore. Just like it isn't okay to put a drug on the market and say, oh, we haven't bothered to test it, but we think we like it. No, sorry, that's not good enough. So yeah, you're right. We need measures, and we need to demand from ourselves that we choose models that have empirical basis, not just charismatic leaders. Charismatic leaders can get us in real trouble.
Well, thank you, Sue. I want to say a couple of things before we wrap up. First, we're going to put this on our website, this video, leadingedgeseminars.org. You know, if you'd like to see it again, you gave some really good tips and things I think will be very helpful for people. And it's on our website. You can see it again. You can tell your friends. Please tell your friends and colleagues that we're doing this almost every day, and it's free. If you look in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you'll see a poll, and that will give us some feedback. It's like a 1 or 2 minute polls. We're just sending us some responses to how this went for you. And we're always open at any time for your suggestions, for speakers, for topics we can do this with, any other ideas, how we can get through this together. And Sue, you were such a great choice to be our first person, even if you're technologically avoidant. You did it. You did it. And we hope we get a lot of video emails saying we didn't see Sue, we didn't hear a word. So please let us know.Ue, thank you so much. You're very generous and kind.
And I think it's great that you're doing this. I think it's a public service, and it speaks to your integrity and your passion. And I think it's great you're doing this. I'm honored, in spite of my technological insecurity. I'm honored to be your first guest, and we will share this if you send it to me and make it easy for me technologically. We will share this with all of our EFT communities all over the world. And thank you. This is exactly what we should be doing as therapists, helping each other and supporting each other.
And thank you out there in viewer land who took a chance, and hope your technology worked, and hope to see you again for other virtual lunches. Have a great rest of the day, and thanks again.
Bye, everybody. Okay.